Get Stuart on the phone.
Stuart Humphrey?
Yes, CEO of Wahoo. That's Stuart Humphrey.
Again, that the number of affected users has swelled to over 500 million, making it the largest data breach in history. Our experts are telling us that the ripple effect could last years, even decades. And again, for anyone watching at home, it cannot be stressed enough. Change your passwords. Even if you think you're not affected, better to be safe than sorry.
Mr. Humphrey for you.
Put him on. You want to tell me why I'm learning about the Wahoo data breach from NNN and not from you, the CEO of the company we're purchasing for $4.8 billion?
Margaret, calm down.
Calm down? They're saying this security breach affects 500 million end users. They're also saying Wahoo execs, including you, became aware of the hacker attempting to sell user data on the darknet 7 months ago. So I want to know, how much did you know? And when did you know it?
For starters, I want to remind you, we're on the same team here. Let's try not to forget that. Now, that said, I do know that 7 months ago there was a hacker trying to sell data he claimed he stole through a watering hole attack.
Watering hole attack?
It's where a hacker secretly finds out what websites a company's employees frequently go to, like fantasy football sites, online gaming sites, or industry sites that publish business news. The hacker sends a fake update request that looks like it's coming from the legit website, but really, it's a trick to get the worker to install malware. You never clicked to install an update like that, did you?
No, I would never do something that stupid.
You don't have to be stupid. That's the thing. Hackers are smart, and they're constantly thinking of new ways to trick people. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. All it takes is to simply visit a website the hackers have infected, and bam, you're hacked.
How are you supposed to protect against that?
For starters, be mindful of the sites you visit. Try to avoid any that aren't well known or don't appear to be on the up and up. But probably the best way to avoid a watering hole attack is to make sure your programs stay automatically updated by software vendors or your IT department.
Stuart, I'm just not buying it!
We get thousands of hacking attempts and alleged data breaches every year. I mean, we couldn't possibly sort through them all to tell which are real and which are fake.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a firm believer where there's smoke, there's fire. You'll be hearing from our attorneys.
With many experts predicting this breach will ultimately cost Horizon the future its CEO wanted. Now, that future seems far less certain for both the company and its CEO.
Get Stuart on the phone.
Stuart Humphrey?
Yes, CEO of Wahoo. That's Stuart Humphrey.
Again, that the number of affected users has swelled to over 500 million, making it the largest data breach in history. Our experts are telling us that the ripple effect could last years, even decades. And again, for anyone watching at home, it cannot be stressed enough. Change your passwords. Even if you think you're not affected, better to be safe than...
Mr. Humphrey for you.
Put him on. You want to tell me why I'm learning about the Wahoo data breach from NNN and not from you, the CEO of the company we're purchasing for $4.8 billion?
Margaret, calm down.
Calm down? They're saying this security breach affects 500 million end users. They're also saying Wahoo execs, including you, became aware of the hacker attempting to sell user data on the darknet 7 months ago. So I want to know, how much did you know? And when did you know it?
For starters, I want to remind you we're on the same team here. Let's try not to forget that. Now, that said, I do know that 7 months ago there was a hacker trying to sell data he claimed he stole through a watering hole attack.
Watering hole attack?
It's where a hacker secretly finds out what websites a company's employees frequently go to, like fantasy football sites, online gaming sites, or industry sites that publish business news. The hacker sends a fake update request that looks like it's coming from the legit website, but really, it's a trick to get the worker to install malware. You never clicked to install an update like that, did you?
No, I would never do something that stupid.
You don't have to be stupid. That's the thing. Hackers are smart, and they're constantly thinking of new ways to trick people. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. All it takes is to simply visit a website the hackers have infected, and bam, you're hacked.
How are you supposed to protect against that?
For starters, be mindful of the sites you visit. Try to avoid any that aren't well known or don't appear to be on the up and up. But probably the best way to avoid a watering hole attack is to make sure your programs stay automatically updated by software vendors or your IT department.
Stuart, I'm just not buying it.
We get thousands of hacking attempts and alleged data breaches every year. I mean, we couldn't possibly sort through them all to tell which are real and which are fake.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a firm believer where there's smoke, there's fire. You'll be hearing from our attorneys.
With many experts predicting this breach will ultimately cost Horizon the future its CEO wanted. Now, that future seems far less certain for both the company and its CEO.
All right, so welcome back from the video, and we will continue to, please give me a minute. I think something is happening. Okay, let's see. All right, okay, network. All right, so let's continue, and I'll share my screen again so that we can take the quiz. All right, so let's look at what we can answer based on the video that we just watched, and it's just one question. And you should know that a watering hole attack is where the criminals know where you are likely to visit. They know where you want or the employees have to be at the time. So they know that definitely employees will be at a gambling site, an adult site, a movie site, so they know you'll be there, and they pass through those websites to attack the employee and thereby affecting the system or navigating through this employee system to affect the company as a whole. So this is what a watering hole attack is. And we are to select the answers that are true. Which of these things are true? So the first one is, if you have been to the website before and it didn't contain a watering hole attack, it is safe for you to keep visiting as it won't contain a watering hole attack in the future. So we have to select the answers that are true. Now, the second says it is not only CD websites that contains watering hole attacks. Very prominent websites have been hacked and injected with watering hole attacks as well. The third option says don't follow any prompts from any website to download software updates without first checking with IT. And the last option says keep your software applications up to date, including your antivirus software, will lessen the likelihood that a watering hole attack will be successful. So how many of these options should we select? The first, second, third ones. We should select the one that we feel are true.
All except
you,
the first one.
All except the first,
The first one. Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. Do we all agree with that? Let's see. I think this is just one statement, so we can just take it. All right. Okay. That is perfect. Thank you for your submission. All right, so today, after here, we then go to, where we talk about the presentation, where we look at what we have for today. So today, I'm just going to talk about something that a lot of people use in cybersecurity, and we are going to look at virtualization with VirtualBox. Okay, virtualization with VirtualBox. That's what we are going to look at today. Now, what is virtualization? You have to understand that not every company or not every person can buy computers for everyone. Or in a business setting, you can't buy computers for every worker, or you can't buy server for every different thing that you want to do. And there's a reason why virtualization is popular. Virtualization is where you are allowed to share the resources of something to create more of it. So let's say that you have one computer. Because of virtualization, you can share the resources of the computer with different people. Okay, so you have a 10 gig RAM, you have maybe a hard drive space of, let's say, 1 terabyte, and then you have 16 CPUs. So that is your computer. Now, virtualization is a pillar that underpins cloud computing. You see, so if, let's say, you have all these resources, you are able to share the resources among different systems. So with your 16 gig or with your 16 CPUs, you get to allocate 2 CPUs to something or to somebody. Your 10 gig RAM, you get to give 2 gig out of your 10 gig to somebody or to a different system. And your hard disk space, that is 1 terabyte, you get to give, let's say, 100 gig to also a different system. That is the idea of virtualization. So this helps a lot of businesses. As long as they get one big computer, they can share their resources among different people or different workers or even consumers. That's the idea of virtualization. And this is there to help, startups, to help companies. Now, other people also use virtualization for testing purposes. They want to create multiple systems where they can test their software or they can test their programs. You see, it is difficult to buy, let's say, 5 computers because you want to test something. So you want a computer that has Windows 10 or Windows 11. You want a computer that have maybe a Mac operating system, like Apple operating system. Let me say it that way. You want a computer that runs a Linux operating system. So you have all these virtualization to create that. Instead of going to buy individual computers that have these operating systems, you can use one computer and you can make these operating systems on as a result of virtualization. All right, as a result of virtualization. So the whole idea is to help startups. The whole idea is to help companies make different operating systems on one system. Now, in virtualization, we have different things that we have to know. There's something called hypervisors, right? When we talk about a hypervisor is a software that makes virtualization possible. Now, this is a software that will be sitting between your computer and will be allocating the resources, will be managing the resources. Now, the hypervisor is also the software that enables and tell each operating system to work within its own confined area so that what you do in one operating system doesn't affect the thing you do in the other operating system. That is the idea of virtualization. Now, hypervisors are the softwares that enable this. They will sit between the machine and the VM. Now, when we talk about VM, the VM stands for virtual machines. A VM is the individual operating system you create. So as soon as you create one operating system, or as soon as you allocate the resources of your computer to another system, that system that you've created is called a VM, a virtual machine. So it is the hypervisors that maintains, allocates, and creates these virtual machines. And with these hypervisors, we have two types of them. We have the type 1, and then we have the type 2. The type 1 is also called the bare metal hypervisor. Now, what this type 1 hypervisor does is it works as an operating system. The computer does not have any operating system. The computer runs on that particular hypervisor. And that is what most servers are used for. And these are computers that you buy that runs these hypervisors. Now, the type 1 hypervisors work like an operating system, and their job is to allocate the resource of that computer it is on for other people to use it. So if, let's say, you go and buy a device with type 1 hypervisor on it, once you boot the device, it is the type 1 hypervisor that comes and you get to allocate resources to other people. And this is how a lot of servers operate. This is how servers are created. When you go and buy a server, most of the time, the server would run these hypervisors. That's the type 1, bare metal, because it is installed on the metal that you went to go and buy. That's the server. So the server would have a type 1 hypervisor. That's the software that will run that server, and it will allow the company that buys the server to allocate the resources of the server to other people. So if, let's say, a company has 10 employees, that particular type 1 hypervisor can be used to allocate resources so that all the 10 employees can connect to the same server or can use the same server as their computer, and it would allocate resources to everybody, and everybody will have their share of that bare metal or that server the company has bought. And this is the server that a lot of companies also use to power their website. Then we look at type 2 hypervisors. The type 2 are also known as the hosted hypervisors. Now, these type of hypervisors, their job is it runs on a different operating system. So this type of hypervisor is what VirtualBox is an example of. VirtualBox and VMware, they are virtualization softwares, but they run on a different operating system. They are installed on a different operating system. So with VirtualBox, you have your computer that runs a normal operating system. That is called the host operating system. So you would install VirtualBox, and VirtualBox would be on that host operating system. It's like the Windows 11 and the Windows 10 you have on your computer, or the Mac that you have on your computer. That type 2 hypervisor, the VMware, would be running on it. And you can still allocate resources, or you can still create multiple virtual machines out of it. But with this, it is mostly for personal use, training, and you can create your own personal labs for cybersecurity experts. They use this to also create their professional labs and play around it. Software developers also use this to also create multiple operating systems where they can practice the tools that they build or the software that they build to see how they will react with these operating systems. And so now that we understand that VirtualBox and VMware, those are the most popular ones we have. One that we understand that VirtualBox and VMware, they are a virtualization software known as a type 2 hypervisor. We are going to talk about the virtual machine here. Now with virtual machine, it is free, so you don't need any licensing to use. That's why a lot of people prefer virtual machine. It can also work on Windows. Virtual machine also works on a lot of operating systems like Mac OS or the Linux system. You can install virtual machines on all these systems, and it is easy to understand. It is easy to set up. So a lot of people like it. The documentations are easy to read. You know, every application on the internet has documentation. The documentation is a step-by-step processes of setting up these systems. Most of the times, we don't read them unless maybe you're a developer or a designer, or maybe you are a professional who would want to know how to set it up for a company. But the documentation of these softwares are there, and they are easy to read, and it is easy to create. It is not even that heavy. When you download it online, it is not even that heavy. So if you want to download VirtualBox, you will just have to go online, right? And just type in VirtualBox. You just type in VirtualBox download, and it will come. And you go into their website, right? You go into their website, and then you just download it without doing anything. But the documentations are here for you to read about the software and how to set it up. But these are the platform that they have. So once you click on Windows host, it will just download for Windows. If you are using a Mac OS, just click on Mac. If you're using Linux, just click on Linux, because it is a type 2, so it's supposed to be installed on an operating system. That's in the host machine. So what your host machine is, you would install it on your host machine, and that will be that. And once that we have an idea of virtual box and how we can download it. Once you download it, just run it and click next, next, next. And that will be all. You just get it and you'll be here. This is the home page of VirtualBox. You see. And with VirtualBox, it runs operating systems just like the operating systems are on a computer. So let's say that you are using Windows 11, you want to create Windows 10. You can use VirtualBox to create Windows 10. You want to create even another Windows 11 on your Windows 11, you can still do that, where you have two Windows 11 systems, and you can use one for, let's say, practicals, or one for learning, and the other one as your normal actual computer. So these are called VMs, virtual machines, and the operating system this is installed on is called the host machine or the host system, right? So once you are here, and if you want to create any virtual machine, you just have to download the ISO file. Now the ISO files are the ISO or the package installer for the operating system. Anytime, let's say you want to install or you want to run Windows on a new computer, these are the ISO files that are used to do that. And these ISO files are free most of the time with Windows. Even with Windows, they are free. With Ubuntu, they are free. If you want to download ISO files, you just have to know what you are downloading. So if it is Windows 11 or Windows 10, you just search Windows 10 ISO. You go into the Microsoft website, and they'll guide you on how you can download it. You see, that is it. Just download now, and you just go through a few steps, and that'll be all. You can just download this Windows 10 ISO without any issue, and you can download it on your computer. If you want Windows 11 ISO, you can just download that. because with Microsoft, these ISO are free, but then the activation after you install it, that becomes an issue. But with virtualization, you just need to have it running, and that is all. Okay. So if you want to, let's say, download or you want to create a Linux virtualization, a Linux VirtualBox or virtual machine, sorry, you just set what Linux that you want. If it's a Ubuntu that you want to do, you click on download Ubuntu, and then it will go to your website. Now, Ubuntu is a Linux operating system that is used by a lot of servers. So if you want to, let's say, practice how servers react or how servers are used, you can just try Ubuntu virtual machine and see what it is. So if you can't hear, you can just download it and that will be fine. And you download it and then you go to VM, virtual machine, and we will set it up. I will set it up very soon. Okay. So this is an Ubuntu operating system. Once you click on download, you just download it without any issue. And the latest version is 24.04. We have a lot of operating systems. Kali Linux is also another operating system that are used by a lot of cybersecurity professionals. If you want Kali Linux, you can just search Kali download and you choose your Kali platform. Now, because we want to set it up on the virtual machine, that's Oracle VirtualBox, we will come and install or download this particular ISO file here. So this is the ISO file of Kali, and the latest version is 2025.1c. Once you click on download, you will have it downloaded, and you can now set it up here. So to set up a virtual machine, you will just need to come to Oracle VirtualBox and open it. Once you open it, you won't see all these things here, right? But once you open it, and then you go to machine and create new. Now, this is where you are creating a new virtual machine. So what will be the name of the virtual machine? So the name, depending on the operating system, you can name it whatever you want. So let's say I want to be setting up maybe a Kali Linux system, right? Kali Linux system. What am I doing? Either way. Now, then after we are here, we have to select the ISO file. The ISO file is what we went to the website to download, this or this or this, for which Windows you want. Now, all these is the same formula for all of them. It is the same thing for all of them, just that with each one, a few things changes. So you have to browse to locate where you downloaded this particular ISO file. And whenever you download something, you'll go to your downloads and you pick it from there. So let's say this is mine, and I'll pick the ISO file from here. After I pick the ISO file, it will say Linux, Ubuntu. Now, Kali is not an Ubuntu system. You see, Kali is a Debian system. So if you see Debian here, you have to select Debian, and it will be Debian 64-bit because it thinks that Kali Linux is an Ubuntu system. No, but with Windows 10 and with Ubuntu, the moment you select the ISO files here, it will just select it for you without any issue. The version and the type will just be selected for you. Whereas Kali, sometimes it selects that for you. Sometimes you have to do it manually. And this is the first step. Now, the second step is this part, not that important. The third step is where you would allocate your space. So the idea of virtualization is to allocate the space of your computer to a different system. So now VirtualBox will look at what you have and it will tell you the one that you're allowed to give. So here, it will give you all your memory and all your CPU. So it is telling you that you can select within the green area here. You can navigate within the green area to select this particular operating system or to give the memory to this new system that you are creating. So depending on how you want and how fast you want it, the RAM would just tell us how fast it is and how fast we want it to run. Let me just give it some 2 gig, right? And then the CPU will also give you the CPU that you have on your system and what it is best you can allocate to. Now, the one in red means that these are the ones that your actual host system are using. So the green is what the host system can share or can give out. So you have to play within the zone and make sure it doesn't exceed the red. Because once it exceeds the red, it means this system is getting more resources and even getting the resources that your actual host machine needs to function. If you select more than that here, it means that once you open this, your system will crash because you are taking more resources than this particular operating system needs. Okay, and this about the CPU is something you can also play along with. Now, the hardware will be the virtual hardware of the new system. So let's say you have 1 terabyte on your actual computer, you'll be sharing some of them with this new system you are creating. How much, how many do you want your new operating system to have? And you have to decide it and say, okay, I want the new operating system to have like 30 gig or something, and that will be all. And once you are done, you click on finish, and it will be here. And you have to start the operation. The moment you click on start, it means you are creating the operating system for the first time because this is now that you are setting up. Okay, so once you click on start, this is what comes. And you have to select the installation process. It's just like you are installing Windows for the first time. You see, you select your language, you select your keyboard, you type in your name. You see, all these things are something that you can select. So I wouldn't do that because it would take much time, but the steps are just similar or simple. Your name, your language, your password, your username, so on and so forth, and you would be able to install that. Now, let me just shut it down and stop this process. I can just end it and I'll power it off here. And I can just delete it because I don't want it to be in the system. I can just remove it because I already have one created already. So I'll open the one that I've created already, and then I'll show you the end result of that. Okay. Now, in virtual machine, or in VirtualBox, there's also something that you should know that after this one boots, I will explain that. So this becomes the new host that I have created, right? The new host machine, sorry, the new virtual machine that I've created. So I can be running Kali on my actual computer here. So this can function on my normal computer without any issue. And this is what virtualization is all about. This is what virtualization is all about. And this becomes a different computer running on my normal computer, and I can just do full screen, and I say full screen. And now this will act like a new computer that I can be working on without any issue. I can do what I want to do. I can visit the internet. I can download resources. I can do all the things that I need, and everything wouldn't be an issue. Everything wouldn't be an issue, right? And this is how good virtualization is all about. Am I selecting motorcycles? Am I selecting? Keep on selecting with motorcycles. Okay. Alright. What is this? If they want me to prove that I am not a robot, okay, let's see. This done. Yeah. All right, so now let's continue. I think the reason why it is stopping because this will also take your internet. Now, that is what I want to explain next, the adapter properties. So once you create a virtual machine, each virtual machine has something that you have to set it up. I want to go out of here and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. The network adapter settings are very, very important. And this is something that you should know if you want to create a virtual machine. Right now, this with everyone. Okay, my screen is not sharing. Let me share my screen again. Okay. All right. Now, with every one of them has its own network adapter settings. Yeah. Now, the network adapter settings comes in different formats, right? And these are something that you should know. We have the NATs here. We have the bridge adapter and the host-only adapter. And also we have the NAT network. I think these are just the important ones. And there's also internal network. Now, let me explain all of them and why you will need to select which of them or which one you will need when you create a virtual machine. Now, the NATs, what the NAT will do is the network address translation. It will use your computer's resources to access the internet. With the NATs, once you create a virtual machine, this virtual machine here will be using my computer's IP address on the internet. So it will be using my host computer's IP address for the internet. This will not be giving a new IP address. No, it will be like two different people or two different computers using the same IP address. That is what the NAT means. Okay. And with the bridge adapter, what the bridge adapter will do is the bridge adapter will treat each virtual machine as an individual computer, and each one of them will be given a separate IP address. It's just like you are in a space where every system is giving an IP address, like an local area network. So with this particular bridge adapter, it means that it will take these three as different computers. So you imagine this as, let's say, you are in an office space where 4 workers, one worker is using Windows 10, one is using Ubuntu, and one is using Kali, and another one is using the host machine. So it will pick four. Now it will take 4 operating systems. All of them have different IP address. So all your virtual machines that I have here, all the virtual machines that I have here, plus my operating system, that the actual host machine, that the Windows 11, will pick all of them as different hosts with different IP addresses. And that is the bridge adapter, what the bridge adapter would do. Let's go back to the network. And once you select the bridge adapter, and then it goes on, but because this is still running, that is why these things are maxed out. The system is still running, that is why. Okay. But then we go on to another one where it says host only adapter. With a host only adapter, what it means is that the virtual machine that you've created would only be communicated with your host machine. Your virtual machine, that is a Kali, Ubuntu, or Windows 10, any one of them, once you put it as host only adapter, it would be communicating with only your host machine. And in this instance, the host machine is my Windows 11. What it means is that this will not be connected to the internet. This virtual machine will not be connected to the internet. It will be connected to only your host machine. Once you select a host only adapter, okay, and it is most for people who do not want their VM to be connected to the internet. They just want isolation to test something. They don't want, this to be connected to the internet to see. Maybe it's a malware that they have installed on that particular VM, and they want to see how the malware would run. And they don't want the malware to be communicating with the internet to change things or something or so forth, or to be communicating with the attacker. So they would connect the VM in this instance. And what happens is that the VM will be isolated out of the internet, no connection to the internet. I would only be connected with your host only adapter. And then we have internal network. With internal network, this would act as a LAN, a local area network, where only people or only computers that are on the internal network can communicate with each other. So if I put maybe Kali on an internal network, I go and put Ubuntu also at an internal network, it means that they will be communicating with each other. You see, I have created a system where all the computers on that internet, like you have created a network for them. More to replicate an office system, an office setting, where all of them are connected to a local area network, and they'll be communicating with each other. And once that happens, you can, just do, or you can use it to practice and just say, okay, I want this to be like an office setting where every computer that I've created will be communicating with each other. And that is what, once you select the internal network, that is what it will do. So look at here. So once you select internal network, you have to create an internal network for them to be connected to. Yeah. And once you create an internal network, you can assign it to, let's say, Ubuntu. And I'll go to Windows here, and I can click on the settings, and I'll go to network, and I'll see, maybe I'll select internal network here, and then I'll select that network that I've created for them. So it means that I have created this idea that all of them are connected on the same local network that they can communicate with each other. So with the NAT is when the virtual machine will not be assigned any IP address. The virtual machine will be connected to your host machine's IP address, and you'll be using internet from your host machine. Okay. The bridge adapter is where each virtual machine will be treated as a new computer and will be assigned a new IP address as it is on their own. The host-only adapter means that the virtual machine you have created will not be connected to the internet, but will be connected to your host machine only. And no internet, but will just be communicating with your host machine only. And once you do an internal network, it's like you are creating a network where you are connecting all the virtual machines you create together. And this is something that you can play along with it. So I'll just cancel it. this card changes, and let me look at this settings, whether I change it or I didn't change it. Let me see or no. Okay. And network, let's just to bridge adapter, and let's just refine. So I can just start multiple system at once. This will be here, right? And then the new one that I'm starting will also come up very soon. Let's see here. So I can open multiple systems and just do whatever I want to do. So what it means is that now I am using a Kali Linux system on one side, and I'm using an Ubuntu system also on one side, and I have my host machine, that is Windows 11, also sitting on top of it. So this Ubuntu, it is used for servers. A lot of servers run this Ubuntu system. So you can create your own server using this Ubuntu virtual machine. I can create my own website server right now, and I can host it on the internet using this Ubuntu. I can just create my own website and host it on this Ubuntu server first, and I'll be able to connect to that from anywhere as long as I make it public. You see, so this is the power of virtualization. Okay. And with virtualization, there's also something that we can talk about. That is snapshots. So we can talk about snapshots. What a snapshot will do is, you see, take snapshot here. A snapshot is you are taking more like a screenshot, or you are taking the current state of the virtual machine here. This is the current state of your virtual machine. You can make a copy of the current state of your virtual machine. And if anything happens, you can restart it from that point. So it's like you're creating a virtual point in memory where if anything goes south on your virtual machine right now, you can restart it on the snapshot or from that time moment like today. So if I take the snapshot today and I'm using my virtual machine, let's say tomorrow, and something happens to it, or let's say a virus is installed on it, and the virus starts messing the virtual machine up here, I can just restart it from the snapshot I took today. And that is one thing, or that's one important element of snapshots. And then we also have an image. You see, an image is where you are taking the exact clone. It's like you are doing a full backup. You are doing everything. You are cloning everything from the start. So once you do a clone, it's like you are cloning the entire system without any restore point or anything. It will just be cloned, or this entire system, you make a replica of this entire system without the thing that it is on it. So it would start from when you got it fresh. There will be no applications, there will be nothing on it. It will just be like the first day you did it. That is what a clone is. But the snapshot would clone it though, but it will clone it from the where you are or when you actually created the image. You see that exact point. So let's say if today I install all my apps, I open a lot of tabs on it, and I take a snapshot. If I restore it from the snapshot, it would bring me to when the tabs were open, when I was opening the apps, I was doing something, that is what a snapshot is. So if let's say you're watching a movie on Netflix and you don't want to end the website, but you want to continue from the exact point you are watching the movie, you can take a snapshot. And once you start your virtual machine from that snapshot, you would continue from where you were watching the movie. So this is how nice virtualization is, and how we can use virtualization to practice and test a lot of operating systems. And for those who would want to use operating systems for other things, you can do this with virtualization, and VirtualBox is the application for you. So as you see here, it's either I power it off or I restore from a snapshot. I can say I'll power off the machine. Powering off the machine is just like you are turning off a machine down. So here I can just go to machine and I can shut it down and it will go off just like you are turning a computer off. This is the power of virtualization. Any questions? Yes. Any questions, please? So this is my Windows 10 virtual machine. I don't know if I remember my password. Let me see. Okay. I do remember my virtual machine. So this is that you can create as multiple operating systems as you want without yeah. And it will work like the actual Windows 11 without any issues. Everything will work like that without any issue. And this is what virtualization is all about. Okay. So stop sharing. Right. So yes, that is what we have for today. Any questions, any insights, anything anybody would like to add? Okay.
I'm okay
If
here.
there are nothing to be okay.
Yeah, we are good.
Gloria, you joined late, but are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I got a new machine that you could help me after the class if you're available.
Okay. All right. We will work on that soon. All right. All right. So yes. All right. Okay, that's fine. All right. So that will be all for today. If there are no questions, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week, Wednesday, same time, same link, same place. Thank you guys and enjoy your day. All right. Bye bye.